Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
Because of the lack of guardrails, because of the lack of systems and processes to verify credentials.
Cracking down on credential fraud. A Canadian visa program for educated immigrants from Hong Kong under fire amid allegations of fake credentials. Plus,
huge hole for our community downtown, for the old Prince George.
A Prince George brewery says it will not rebuild after its business was deliberately set on fire. How the owners would like the province to improve public safety. And
my understanding is from the conversation I've had that the federal government understands that, they're taking it seriously, and that we should expect to see reform in that area.
All she was doing was living her life, a life that was cut short by intimate partner violence.
With intimate partner violence on the rise, Premier David Eby pushes Ottawa for tougher action on perpetrators.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Janella Hamilton. Thanks for joining us. It was meant to attract the best and brightest, but as Jason Proctor explains, a program that offered a pathway for those living in fear to immigrate to Canada has allegedly been abused.
When China cracked down on Hong Kong in 2019 and 2020, Canada responded by creating new pathways for citizens to immigrate. The immigration minister at the time announced a special program for educated citizens to apply for work permits if they had master's degrees from foreign universities. But when Lyman Lam submitted her MBA, she was met with tough questions from a visa officer who asked her questions about what was supposed to be her area of expertise. He said he didn't expect to get all her questions right, but she got most, if not all, of them wrong.
History in immigration clearly shows that every time you have a new program, the masterminds cluster and see how they can economically benefit from it, rightly or wrongly.
Vancouver immigration lawyer Richard Curlin says the Hong Kong program was abused by people accused of having ghostwriters or plagiarizing the coursework needed to get their degrees. Immigration Canada was alerted to the scam when the South China Morning Post published an article saying that Hong Kongers keen to move to Canada were being offered MBAs for cash without classes or homework.
After the South China Morning Post published, the lights went on, the world could see that Canada was being duped.
Curlin says hundreds of people applied. It's unclear how many cheaters were caught because immigration outcomes are private, but some details have emerged through federal court appeals where judges upheld the rejections.
When a student crosses the stage and receives a parchment, we as a society believe that the parchment they receive represents the learning they've done in their program. And if they haven't done the learning in the program, we can't trust the parchment. We can't trust the credential.
University of Calgary professor Sarah Eaton says Australia and the UK have taken strong stances against credential fraud, but Canada has not committed to cracking down on the issue, despite concerns about diploma mills and the fact having an education, or at least pretending to, can boost your chances of immigration.
Now, I can see Canada as being a very attractive destination for individuals with what I might call questionable credentials, shall we say, because of the lack of guardrails, because of the lack of systems and processes to verify credentials of incoming individuals in all kinds of different pathways.
In a statement, Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada did not comment on the specifics of the Hong Kong program, but said they take fraud seriously, are proposing new rules with heavy penalties for anybody counseling would-be immigrants to lie. Jason Proctor, CBC News, Vancouver.
A popular Prince George brewery destroyed by arson says it won't be rebuilding unless the safety situation downtown improves. CBC's Andrew Curiata reports.
When it opened in 2017, Crossroads Brewing was a pioneer, the first craft beer shop in the city, and an important investment in the effort to revitalize downtown Prince George. Now it sits charred and empty after being gutted by an early morning fire deliberately set one day before it was supposed to host an end-of-summer street festival.
It's devastating.
Owen Foley is president of the Downtown Prince George Business Association.
It's a huge hole for our community downtown, for the old Prince George.
And Foley says it's also not surprising.
I myself, just had to pour a bucket of water on some smoldering debris in the alley.
The owner of Crossroads has declined all media requests, but told City Council this week he has no intention of rebuilding until he sees some positive change.
We need to improve the public security.
Mayor Simon Yu says even though statistics show an improvement in overall downtown safety, it only takes one high-profile incident to devastate a business.
It will impact the feeling of the town that downtown is not safe.
In the last few years, multiple downtown businesses have been damaged or destroyed by fire, including an explosion caused by copper wire theft that sent a city bylaw officer to hospital with serious burns. Just this past week, the owner of a nightclub damaged in that explosion posted photos of charred paper stuffed into their door where they found another fire shortly after Crossroads burned.
It's beyond frustrating. We seem to work so hard to try to keep a safe place here, and we just can't seem to keep up with it.
And Prince George is not alone. Across the province, city councils are trying different measures to tackle public safety. Private security guards patrolling the streets in Smithers. Williams Lake nearly declaring a state of local emergency. And in Nanaimo, an iron fence was proposed to separate City Hall from the surrounding neighborhood. Even if all these proposals haven't come to fruition, Yu says it sends a strong message that cities are struggling. A message that will be loud and clear at next week's Union of BC Municipalities meeting in Victoria.
We need to find the root cause of some of the issues.
In Prince George, a downtown camera program is being set up to better monitor the city, and Yu hopes to see more police patrolling the streets soon as well. Foley says these are positive steps, but in the meantime...
Hope that our building's not next.
Andrew Curietta, CBC News, Prince George.
Voting is underway in the BC Conservatives' review of John Rustad's leadership, but the process has been marred by evidence of fake membership signups and ballot stuffing. Rustad says the party needs to do more to address these concerns.
What has gone on in Kelowna actually is very disturbing. Within our party, there needs to be some structural changes for that sort of database to be breached. There's legal ramifications for people's private information being let out into the public. So there's lots that needs to be done there.
The BC Conservatives say more than 2,000 signups were cancelled over concerns they were fraudulent. Those new members provided fake phone numbers and similar email addresses, and their membership fees were all purchased using just 3 credit cards. Rustad says an internal party investigation into the matter will be submitted to Elections BC. Premier David Eby delivered a message to his counterpart in Alberta today, saying Danielle Smith's push to get federal support for a pipeline from her province's oil sands to the coast in northeastern BC is premature.
I'll say this for Premier Smith from Alberta. She's an incredible advocate because you would never guess that there is no private proponent, there is no money, there's no project. There's no support from First Nations along the coast. In fact, nobody's talked to them. This project is non-existent except for in the political discourse.
Eby says he is concerned Smith's comments might put BC projects, which he says are worth tens of billions of dollars, in jeopardy. Eby also raised the need for bail reform and tougher action on perpetrators of intimate partner violence. As Katie DeRosa reports, it comes as the family of a woman allegedly killed by her ex-husband in Kelowna call for urgent reforms.
And I have almost given up a couple times. I feel like she's just cheering me on back there. Let's keep going, keep going.
Carrie Wiebe wants Canada to get tougher on the perpetrators of intimate partner violence after her friend Bailey McCourt was killed earlier this year. The 2 women were attacked in a Kelowna parking lot in July. Wiebe was sent to hospital with serious injuries, but survived. 32-year-old McCourt died of her injuries. McCourt's ex-husband, James Plover, has been charged with second-degree murder. The Conservative MP for Kamloops Thompson Nicola cited McCourt's death in calling for immediate reforms on intimate partner violence.
All she was doing was living her life, a life that was cut short.
The federal Conservatives tabled a private member's bill calling on the Canadian government to create a new criminal code offense of assault on an intimate partner. The party also says anyone who kills an intimate partner should be automatically charged with first-degree murder, a position shared by McCourt's family.
There's a fundamental difference between assaulting somebody at the bar or on the street and assaulting an intimate partner behind closed doors.
McCourt's family also wants tougher bail rules for domestic violence offenders. Premier David Eby says he raised the issue of bail reform and intimate partner violence in meetings with federal ministers this week.
They're taking it seriously and that we should expect to see reform in that area.
McCourt's murder was one of 3 intimate partner killings in BC in the span of a week. The Battered Women's Support Services has counted 35 BC women killed in the last 13 months, many allegedly by former or current partners.
We're late, frankly, in terms of addressing this issue, and so this is about time that we're taking violence against women seriously.
McDougall says there are immediate actions the province can take, including requiring mandatory risk assessments before those accused of intimate partner violence are released on bail, and mandatory coroner's inquests in such deaths. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
A 21-year-old man has been arrested in connection with an alleged sexual assault against a child under 12. West Shore RCMP say on Monday evening, a girl at a Greater Victoria Elementary School playground was reportedly approached by a man who exposed himself to her and touched her in a sexual manner. Police say she got away and was physically unharmed.
Please, parents, talk to your children. Talk to your children about safety. Whether they're with someone or alone. If they're going to be playing in a play yard, please make sure somebody else is going to be with them, or they're in a group, or that they basically stick to your rules, whatever that might be.
Sagar says police have not received any similar reports and believe this is an isolated incident. Charges have not yet been laid. A Victoria morning radio show host has been charged with child luring following a Vancouver police investigation. CFAX host Al Farabee was arrested about 8 months ago and charged yesterday. Mira Baines reports.
CFAX host Al Farabee was still on the air Thursday morning. The day before, he was charged.
I'm Al Farabee on Love, Victoria and Vancouver Island.
On Wednesday, the BC Prosecution Service laid 2 counts of child luring using telecommunications related to a Vancouver police investigation. That probe began last September and was initiated by VPD's Internet Child Exploitation Unit. 59-year-old Farabee was arrested in February of this year. He's a popular figure in the Victoria community, known for singing the national anthem at hockey games and even at former BC Premier John Horgan's funeral. Bell Media, CFAX's parent company, released a statement. It writes, "We are aware of the charges and can confirm that he has been suspended pending a police investigation. We have no further comment at this time." Vancouver police say they will not be sharing more information about the case because it may form part of criminal proceedings. Farabee is currently not in custody. None of the charges have been proven in court. Mira Baines, CBC News, Vancouver.
Darius Madavi joins us now with a first look at our weather. Darius.
We're dry for tonight and tomorrow, but as we continue to look beyond that, we're going to see some rain start to arrive overnight Friday into Saturday for the North Island. It will be heavy in places and at times, but it'll only last for a few hours as it continues to make its way down the coast, but continue to expect to see a fair amount of rain pretty much no matter where you are on the northern sections or the west coast of Vancouver Island. By the time it gets here to Vancouver, we will see a couple hours of some heavier rainfall overnight Saturday into Sunday, but then it should taper off into showers not long after. In terms of the fire danger, we have seen that not change too much compared to yesterday. You can see that here. We have actually seen it fall in parts of the central interior and the northeast, but it does continue to climb for Vancouver Island, so fingers crossed that rain makes a difference. Janella?
All right, Darius, thanks so much. We'll check in with you back in a little bit.
Thank you.
The Vancouver Symphony's musicians say they are ready to strike. What they're asking for next. The stage of the Orpheum might soon go silent. The union representing the Vancouver Symphony's musicians says they are ready to strike. They have been without a contract since July, and as Shoria Chethri reports, they're pushing for competitive pay, saying they earn significantly less than their peers in other Canadian orchestras.
Musicians with the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra are poised to go on strike at any time. The union representing the 77 orchestral musicians announced on Monday that more than 97% of its members have voted in favor of job action against their employer, the Vancouver Symphony Society.
This is the first time even that a strike vote has been taken since we had a collective agreement in place in the 60s.
Musicians with the orchestra have been without a collective agreement since July this year and say negotiations stalled this summer.
July 17th, we were presented with an offer that management called final. We attempted to counter, but were told by our CEO that she wouldn't acknowledge our counter and that their offer was final.
At the heart of the dispute is wages.
The base salary here in Vancouver is $75,000, and in Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa, it's around $100,000.
If you look at major orchestras across Canada and also into North America, what you'll see is that every one of them pays at least median household income in that market.
The orchestra has just kicked off their season, and next weekend it's busy with the Star Wars concert. And then viral sensation duo Do Set Violin are set to launch their world tour next week with the orchestra. If musicians do walk off the job, events like those could be affected. In a statement, the Vancouver Symphony Society says it respects the bargaining process and has been negotiating in good faith. It says it has offered fair proposals with meaningful increases in compensation and benefits, but stresses any deal must also ensure the orchestra's long-term sustainability. In the meantime,
We don't want to be doing this. We want to get back to the music. But first we have to get back to the table.
Shauri Chetri, CBC News, Vancouver.
A mobile clinic serving people who are unhoused and living in shelters in the downtown east side is offering a new medical service. As Jana Bailon reports, the Kilala Layla Mobile Health Clinic's portable ultrasound aims to help people right where they're at.
It's described as a family clinic on wheels. This van has been on the streets of the downtown east side for about 5 years, offering everything from snacks and toiletries to medical care and more.
We also have elders and culture workers, and that often is an incredible bridge for them to access other things that they need.
But brand new on their list of offerings, a portable ultrasound service, which can be used for diagnostics like tracking wound healing, monitoring blood flow, and identifying life-threatening illnesses without having to send them to a hospital or clinic.
They have sometimes blood clots or wounds, and we tell them to go to emergency. Most people don't get them taken care of. They don't go to emergency because they don't always feel safe going there. So the ultrasound will give us the opportunity to provide in-the-moment care.
Nurses and community outreach workers meet as many as 60 people a day in the van, which runs from Monday to Friday. It stops at Oppenheimer Park and various downtown eastside shelters.
Because it's a starting point for a lot of people. It's a discussion with someone, it's interaction, it's guidance, it's just talking to someone who's willing to listen and kind of look out for you.
Be connected to a community of people, because that's what we offer at Kilala Layla. And my hope is that there's just one more reason for them to take care of themselves.
A clinic that's finding new ways to get medical care to those who need help. Jana Bailon, CBC News, Vancouver.
A look out from Mount Washington on a gorgeous late summer day. Grab that sunshine while you can. There is a change on the way. Darius has your full forecast coming up. The longest transit strike in BC's history has come to an end. After more than 7 months, the union and employer have agreed to follow recommendations made by special mediator Vince Reddy. Operator Transdev says it will spend the next 3 weeks getting buses back up and running, and that it is working with BC Transit and the Cowichan Valley Regional District to determine when service will resume. Prime Minister Mark Carney is in Mexico for a 2-day visit. Both countries are preparing for the renewal of their trade agreement with the United States, but Carney and the President of Mexico are also looking to strengthen trade ties between Canada and Mexico. CBC's Evan Dyer reports.
Well, any lingering tensions between Canada and Mexico appear to have dissipated somewhat. Of course, there was a rocky period after President-elect Trump in November last year first said that he was going to impose tariffs on both countries, and some Canadian politicians reacted by suggesting that Mexico should be cut out of CUSMA, the deal that replaced NAFTA, and that Canada should negotiate a separate arrangement bilaterally with the United States. Since then, there's been an effort to smooth things over. We saw Prime Minister Mark Carney invite President Claudia Sheinbaum to the G7 in Alberta. We also saw a couple of visits here by the Canadian Foreign Minister, the Canadian Finance Minister, and by Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who was one of those who had made comments that upset Mexico. So there is an appetite for talks on some serious matters that are facing both countries and for taking common positions. Both, of course, are facing a review of CUSMA next year. And that trade deal is under a great deal of pressure already from the United States. Both expect this to be a difficult negotiation, with Washington trying to extract concessions from them. So it's in their common interest to negotiate common positions and strategies. But they both also know, of course, that they can't depend on the United States. So both are looking to diversify their trade, and it makes sense to diversify with each other. Of course, NAFTA and then CUSMA were primarily, from both Canada and Mexico's point of view, about getting access to the neighboring market, the immediate neighbor for both of them, the United States, the big market in NAFTA, and to some extent perhaps neglecting the opportunity to trade with each other. This morning we heard President Claudia Sheinbaum saying that Mexico wants to change that. Mexico is quite a bit further along than Canada in upgrading its infrastructure, roads, rail, seaports, and airports. And in fact, the concern in Mexico is that it's Canadian ports that might not be able to handle the volume of trade that Mexico has in mind for this future trading relationship. And in fact, Mexican officials have even discussed the possibility of direct Mexican involvement in an expansion of the ports of Montreal and Vancouver to be able to handle the kind of traffic that they're hoping to have with Canada in the future. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Mexico City.
Quebec-based retailer Simons is opening the doors to its new Toronto location. As Sophia Harris shows us, it's betting on its humble roots to attract shoppers.
It may be tough times for the retail industry, but not here. Simons, a Quebec-based family-owned clothing and houseware store, is expanding. The latest, this Toronto location. One of 2 new Simons stores to open this year.
We're privileged to have a very loyal Canadian following. Perhaps the fact that we're the heritage Canadian brand now is something that's positive, and certainly the client is responding positively to.
The expansion is noteworthy. This new location in downtown Toronto's Eaton Centre Mall saw the demise of department stores Eaton's, then Sears, then Nordstrom in Canada. And neighboring Hudson's Bay shut its doors in June after the storied company fell deep into debt.
A lot of these retailers lost relevancy. They focused on the wrong customer segment. They offered the wrong product selection at the wrong value proposition. And they let Amazon and online retailers eat their lunch.
But at Simons, sales are up. This analyst says the retailer is bucking the trend by expanding carefully.
They really only started to expand in the last decade or so. They're sort of a big Canadian success story by being careful.
Simons also offers a range of prices and styles, including exclusive brands only found in its 19 stores.
I love their style because you can't find a lot of their styles in the other stores that are here.
The price point is quite right for, people in our age group, millennials, I suppose. and also like the clothing lasts.
Despite its success, Simon says it will continue to proceed cautiously.
Our feet are on the ground. We're going to stay very humble.
It's a formula that's working so far. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
For more on the success of Simons and the state of retail in Canada, let's turn now to David Ian Gray, retail strategist and instructor at the Capilano School of Business. David, we've heard a little bit about why Simons seems to be finding success, but what do you think they're doing right?
Well, first of all, they're a privately held. Firstly, they're an iconic Canadian institution. So with the demise of the Hudson Bay Company, it's pretty exciting to see at least another institution like that stepping up. But it's privately held, so we don't really know how they're doing. But they do a couple things a little differently from the other department stores. One is they don't take the same square footage. Some of those spaces, like the Nordstrom Vancouver space, for example, were just massive, and it's so costly in rent and staffing and product to run those. And Simons keeps a bit of a smaller footprint. But the other thing that's quite interesting with them is about 70% give or take of their product is their own private label product, and they can control more exclusivity around that. They can control the look and feel, and there's better margins for them.
Now, we've heard Simons is expanding. Now, what can they do to build on this or off of this?
Well, so what's happened this summer is they've opened back-to-back in 2 vacated Nordstrom spots in Toronto at Yorkdale Mall, and then just a few days ago at the Eaton Centre. Ironically, it's 9 years almost to the day that Nordstrom did their grand opening event in that space. But they've kind of constricted the space a little bit. They've got those started. I doubt they're going to open something in the next 6 months, because that's going to take a lot of work to get those operationally sound. But all indications are they're not planning on stopping there.
Now, David, it's no secret that Vancouver has seen some big retailers depart in recent years. You mentioned some of them. Have you heard anything? Let's know if you have a little bit of that insider knowledge, anything about who might be moving in to replace Nordstrom and the Hudson's Bay area?
Well, from the beginning, I've thought Simons is a good fit if the space gets reconfigured. And what we've seen in zoning applications from Cadillac Fairview, the landlord, they have plans to chop up the space to make it more, I guess, attractive to a Simons, plus maybe some other tenants as well. The rumors now are that it would be Simons. The reason is it's a really nice fit in Vancouver. They've been in Park Royal for a while, but they really should be somewhere central. Cadillac Fairview has a relationship with them. They've just gone through this process in the Eaton Centre. So, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why we think it's a good fit. Prior to the call, a insider who I trust a lot was suggesting that Italy might be another one of the tenants going into that former Nordstrom.
Yes, we will see. Thank you so much, David Ian Gray, retail strategist and instructor at Capilano University School of Business. We appreciate your time tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Donald Trump has wrapped up his UK visit. After 2 days of pomp, pageantry, and deals, he held a press conference with the British Prime Minister. Chris Brown has more.
The Red Devils dropped in on Donald Trump and Keir Starmer as the U.S. president's state visit turned to business with the signing of deals on artificial intelligence and nuclear reactors. There was some cringe-worthy flattery.
He's a tough negotiator. I think it was a better deal for you than us.
But confronting the media was the big test of this visit for two leaders who differ on significant issues, notably the war in Gaza. Britain plans to recognize a Palestinian state next week.
We absolutely agree on the need for peace and a roadmap because the situation in Gaza is intolerable.
Trump, who says he's the greatest friend Israel has ever had, disagreed, but fairly politely.
So I have a disagreement with the Prime Minister on that score. Okay? One of our few disagreements, actually.
On Ukraine, Trump's friendly relationship with Russia's Vladimir Putin is another contentious point.
He's let me down. He's really let me down.
If that's so, why not hit Russia with much harder sanctions was the question. Trump said Europe must stop buying Russian oil first.
If I may, the elephant in the room.
On Starmer's recent firing of Lord Peter Mandelson as the U.S. ambassador because of his historic ties to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, who Trump also associated with, Trump deflected.
Thank you very much, sir.
I don't know him, actually. I had heard that, and I think maybe the Prime Minister would be better speaking of that. That was a choice that he made, and I don't know. What is your answer to that?
Well, I mean, it's very straightforward. Some information came to light last week which wasn't available when he was appointed.
But that was about as awkward as things got. The King and Queen, who Trump called fantastic people, said their goodbyes, and so did the Starmers, with smiles all round.
Donald Trump appeared to bask in the royal color and spectacle that was rolled out for him, which may explain why there were no sharp words. For Keir Starmer, having Trump leave happy was what this visit was all about. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
The suspension of Jimmy Kimmel's Late Show has sparked a firestorm of reaction. ABC pulled the plug indefinitely after the American host made comments related to Charlie Kirk's killing. Karina Roman has reaction from both sides of the aisle.
We're still trying to wrap our heads around the senseless murder of the popular podcaster. And
Senate Democrats say this is a classic move of a despot, that President Donald Trump had a chance to bring the nation together after Charlie Kirk was killed, and instead is using the tragedy to double down on targeting and silencing his critics.
Essentially saying that any media actor that doesn't say what Trump wants them to say about Charlie Kirk or Trump's policies is going to be silenced. That's censorship.
Even though freedom of speech is the very first amendment in the American Constitution, Democrats are going to introduce a free speech bill to specifically outline a court defense for people the government goes after. Because critics warn the First Amendment itself isn't just threatened, it's dead.
There was an order from the state about what people must say. Jimmy Kimmel did not say that, and his corporation was threatened with consequences by a government official. This is not cancel culture, because it's not culture. It's state repression. It's an order from the government. Here's the script you must read. If you do not read it, you will be taken off the air.
It might have been more of an implied order than a direct one, but the chilling effect is the same. That said, President Trump had a similar defense to when he reacted to the canceling of Stephen Colbert's show by CBS.
Jimmy Kimmel is not a talented person. He had very bad ratings, and they should have fired him a long time ago. So, you can call that free speech or not. He was fired for lack of talent.
The Trump administration and its allies argue the killing of Charlie Kirk was an attack on free speech because some people didn't like what Kirk had to say. But it seems getting Kimmel yanked off the air is okay because he said things they didn't like Federal Communications Commission Chairman Brendan Carr, a Trump appointee and ally.
It was appearing to directly mislead the American public about a significant fact, probably one of the most significant political events we've had in a long time.
The FCC regulates and licenses broadcast TV in the U.S. Carr said local broadcasters don't want to be forced to air a show that is not in their community's interests, as if the local affiliates are not owned by corporations, two of which also happen to be looking to merge, which requires federal approval. Meanwhile, on his way back from the UK today, Trump mused that perhaps the networks that come out against him should lose their licenses. Karina Roman, CBC News, Washington.
How well can a 200-year-old book predict weather, and is it accurate? Johanna Wagstaff on the science behind the Farmer's Almanac next. The Farmer's Almanac has been predicting long-range weather for more than 200 years. Some people swear by it, and some meteorologists get a little twitchy when they hear those forecasts. So Johanna Wagstaff wanted to find out how much science is really behind it.
These little books have promised long-range weather forecasts for about 230 years, but do they actually work? The oldest of the almanacs is the Old Farmer's Almanac, published in 1792.
You know, I think a lot of people wish it was folklore, like, you know, we took a chicken and spun it around or looked at the woolly bear caterpillars.
And that's what I assumed too, that it was folksy wisdom rooted in observational truth, red skies at night, that sort of thing. But it turns out the forecasts mainly come from sunspots.
The big thing that we do is look at the magnetic storm cycles on the sun. And then, of course, there's things we have to tweak. We know that we're on a warming planet. So what's happening there? How warm are the oceans? How cold are they? What's the polar vortex doing? We've been working with a team at AccuWeather for 40 years. And so they use our proprietary formula that takes into account the sunspot activity to make those long-range forecasts.
Now, sunspots do signal increased solar magnetic activity, but their effect on Earth's weather is tiny compared to factors like greenhouse gas emissions. I was pleasantly surprised to hear them acknowledge climate change, but folding it into a sunspot formula doesn't suddenly make the science stack up. Still, the Old Farmer's Almanac sells 2.5 million copies a year, 500,000 here in Canada.
As a confession, I enjoy the Farmer's Almanac. I love the recipes and the anecdotes and the antidotes and the commercials, but hey, I'd be sacrilegious to say that I consulted the forecasts.
The editors claim 80% accuracy for their winter forecasts, but
this one said that the coldest part of winter in Ontario is going to be mid to late December, early and late January, and early February. Hey, they've got the weather covered for the entire winter. How can they be wrong?
Independent checks show that when they do get specific, accuracy hovers near random chance. Meanwhile, science-based seasonal outlooks rely on ocean signals, decades of data, supercomputer models. They're improving, but only about 60% accurate with less detail. Seasonal forecasting is tough for everyone. But the thing is, people might not be looking for that kind of accuracy from an almanac.
We talk about phenology. So when the lilacs are coming out, it's time to plant the peas or the potatoes. You know, this idea that we can look at what's around us. And yes, there's a certainty to the shape of the seasons. And I think that is what people are craving, is this idea that we are part of something larger. You know, we're all connected by this earth. We're looking out for her. And we do that in different ways.
Whether it's a 200-year-old book or a weather app that you're checking for the long range, the key is staying connected to the natural and warming world around you.
Well, Darius, we know you're all about science when it comes to the Farmer's Almanac. Is that what you expected?
I wasn't expecting them to mention climate change. I'll give them that. And
200 years old, yeah.
Yeah. And of course, any story with Johanna and Dave Phillips in it is going to be great. So yeah, it was nice to hear.
It was interesting.
I would say so. Still, seasonal forecasting, not great. You got to continue to tune in every night. Now, let's talk about the drought conditions we have across BC, which this map might look a little bit familiar if you tuned in last week, because nothing has changed compared to then. You can see that here. No change since last week. The southern interior continues to see the worst drought conditions in a few little pockets, but the north is also not looking great, especially on parts of the coast. Again, no change since last week, but if we look at the changes since last month, it's a different story. We've seen the drought conditions worsen in almost every basin. A few of them haven't seen any change. I mean, they may have fluctuated in the time in between, but overall, no net change. This is the only basin that has seen a little bit of improvement. Now, there is some rain on the way. It will be heavy at times, but whether it's going to be enough to really make a difference in the drought situation remains to be seen. I will say parts of the north and central coast already got a fair amount of rain in the past week, so they may see their drought levels drop by next week once we've gotten this system. Because you'll notice at times, it will be heavy rainfall. There's going to be lots of little pockets of downpours, but in most places, the overall precipitation is not going to last very long. You can see that hitting the North Island, continuing to make its way down. Parts of the north and central coast definitely, well, not definitely, probably going to get the most rain. The North Island, west coast of the island, probably getting a fair amount as well. Once it gets to Vancouver, we're probably just looking at we'll look at a few hours of rain and then tapering into showers into Sunday morning. So expect that rain to start late Saturday and then maybe continue into Sunday morning, and then maybe seeing some sunshine later on Sunday. Temperatures are also an interesting story. They're coming up even more tomorrow, especially in the southern interior. They fall again on the coast on Saturday, but remain high in the southern interior, and then fall across the board on Sunday, in some places quite dramatically, from 30 degrees all the way down to 20, 19, around there in the southern interior. So big drop Saturday to Sunday. Let's talk about the air quality down at the surface. Little pockets of bad air quality, but overall not looking too bad. No thunderstorms expected tomorrow. Here's our 5-day forecast, Janella. We've got clearing skies tomorrow morning, then that rain starts Saturday night. I would recommend being inside.
A little bit of rain, very refreshing. Thanks so much, Darius.
Thank you.
Still to come, we'll take you to Prince Edward Island, where getting out of a massive maze is no easy task. That's next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC inbox.
CBC returns as the exclusive media partner of Splash, Arts Umbrella's annual gala and art auction on October 4th. The event supports children and youth programming through arts education. For tickets and information, visit artsumbrella.com. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC Vancouver's e-newsletter today.
A huge new corn maze in Prince Edward Island has twists, turns, and a big reveal.
The CBC's Cheyenne Desjardins tries to find her way out of the attraction at Awesome Blossom Orchards. Why? I can't say that word. At Mount Herbert.
I'm at a corn maze here in Mount Herbert, and joining me to talk more about how something like this all comes together is the designer of this specific corn maze, Awesome Blossom, Sherry Reisner. Thank you so much for having us.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
So tell me, what is this corn maze all about? What does it look like?
What does it look like? Well, it's got, when you see it from up above, it's got smile with a happy face. That's actually on our wedding rings. So we thought, if we're gonna do a corn maze, let's give it a little bit of tribute for that. And then, after that, we said, now what are we gonna do for the second part, right? Because we didn't wanna make it too big, right? It's the first time doing it. So he goes, land here. And I went, spaceship. So, because he went for the planes that go over, right? So I said, okay, spaceship. That works perfect. And that's exactly what we did.
And you're gonna show us.
Yeah.
Take us through the corn maze.
Yeah.
All right, let's go. So how do you make something like this, Sherry?
Well, we just took our little lawnmower. We just planted the corn. We had our neighbor plant the corn. And when it was really, really little, we just decided what we wanted to do on paper and math.
So this started a long time ago when the corn was little.
Yeah, oh yeah, because we didn't have the GPS, right? We don't have a GPS, so we can't do it when it's this high.
Okay.
Right, so I was like, okay, so we just got our riding lawnmower, right? So how are we gonna do this? So we started when it was this big.
And tell me, when you first saw it from above,
oh my God,
worried?
I flipped. I was so happy.
Good.
So happy because I was like, oh my God, we've never done anything like this before.
So when you're designing a corn maze, how do you do that to make sure it's tricky enough, but also people aren't in here for hours lost?
Well, exactly, right? So I didn't want to do a lot of squiggly lines. I wanted something very, very much a pattern, right? So the first design I had, the pattern was just a little too much on the one side where the spaceship is. So when he said land here, I went, oh, spaceship, that's perfect. And I did a little cartoon spaceship. Because you have to think, little kids too coming through. I didn't want to make it too difficult.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sherry, I'm gonna put you to the test. Where are we in this corn maze?
We are, where are we in this corn maze? I believe we are, we are on the spaceship right now.
On the spaceship? So we're nearing the end here. I made it through with a professional corn maze tour guide. I liked this. This is good. I didn't get lost once.
Very nice, very nice.
You had all the tips, all the tricks. Thank you so very much for doing this.
Now, I'm going to challenge you to go in by yourself.
Will you come get me if I don't come out?
Just hail.
All right, I'm all geared up. Got the GoPro. We're gonna give it a whirl.
All right.
Stay to the right.
Good luck.
I will see you soon. Thank you. Rights really came in handy. That was great tips. Yeah, and I remembered when we were at the bottom of the smiley face. Yeah, hit a dead end that we never hit. I don't know what happened there. I'm not sure that was also a right, so
okay. Oh,
who knows?
Okay.
Got the spaceship, but yes, that was great. Thank you so much. This was so fun. Thank you.
What an amazing story. Thanks for being with us tonight.
I'll have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Have a great night.